Hi, I'm Pam and I'm here to talk about retro video games. Today I'm reviewing a game about a classic comedy trio. It's the Three Stooges.
The wrong game. Hey, this looks like a kid's game. You'll win with those.
The Three Stooges game is based on the comedy act of the same name. The Stooges started as a vaudeville act in the 1930s, but soon moved to television and featured three men, Moe, Larry, and a third, Shemp, Curly, Joe, or the other Curly. They were all about lowbrow slapstick comedy and occasional social commentary, and produced almost 200 comedy shorts for television. The game was first released for the Commodore Amiga in 1987 and was ported to the NES in 1989. The premise is that the Stooges are trying to save Ma's orphanage. It's going to close if they can't raise enough money to pay the mortgage, so the three lads go out to find work. The game is basically a collection of mini-games and events which can reward you money depending on how well you do, or sometimes depending on how lucky you are. Each day you'll be shown a selection of jobs and events on a board and try to get a moving cursor to stop on a good one. There are really only 6 things which involve any gameplay. I used to watch the Three Stooges on Sunday afternoons with my dad. It ran in syndication on a local channel, Channel 20, the new VR, although it changed names all the time. My memory of the show is what caused me to pick up this game in the first place, and the best thing about it is how it brings some of the classic sketches to life. The cracker eating contest is a take on the skit Oyster Stew. Curly must scoop crackers out of a bowl of soup before the oysters get to them, making money for each cracker he gets and every bowl he gets through. It's a little awkward to control the location of the spoon with the D-pad, but not too bad once you get used to it. You can also capture a whole oyster before it gets away with your cracker. Waiters Wanted has you dodging and flinging pies at rich diners. You switch between the Three Stooges and get each to duck, pick up, or throw a pie. You get money for each hit, but taking too many pies to the face yourself can end the game early. I'm not sure if this is based on one particular sketch, as pie throwing happened quite often with the Stooges. The boxing minigame is from the short Punch Drunks. Curly becomes a boxing champ when he hears the song Pop Goes the Weasel, and as Larry, you need to make a run to find a violin and bring it to the ring so you can play the tune. This minigame is odd and rather annoying. You run through a side-scrolling street and try to avoid obstacles. The faster you make it through, the more money you can earn. Anytime you hit something, there's an overly long tripping animation, and I hit things a lot. Doctors Wanted sends the three guys running through the corridors of a hospital, trying to pick up lost equipment and avoid running into patients. It seems to be very loosely based on the skit Paging Dr. Howard. This minigame almost plays like a vertical shoot-'em-up, just without the shooting. Initially, I liked this one best, but it's rather slow-paced and got dull pretty quick. Trivia asks you 3 questions to test your knowledge of the Stooges, rewarding you for each correct answer. And since the Stooges are always physically abusing each other, there's also an event which involves Moe slapping, kicking, and eye-poking the other two. This doesn't award any money, but does determine how fast the hand cursor moves when selecting future events. There are also a few more spaces on the board which don't really involve any player interaction. The money square taught me that finding random bags of money on the street is much more lucrative than having a job. The most money I ever made in a day, $750, was made this way. And then there's the mousetrap. If you land on it 4 times, the game will end. Not landing on the mousetrap is probably the biggest challenge, and was the source of some confusion before I read the manual. The game always just seemed to end randomly, far before I could earn enough to save the orphanage. Only the manual, and not the game itself, will tell you how much you need to earn to win. $5,000 will pay the mortgage, but also get you a guilt trip that you didn't make enough to do repairs as well. The manual is also very useful for learning how to play the mini-games, which seem simple but often have odd control schemes. The Three Stooges does a good job translating the source material to a game. The close-up portraits are well done, and it certainly captures the spirit of the sketches. It even includes some voice lines. Though the NES isn't known for its voice sampling ability, they sound surprisingly decent. For these reasons, my first impressions were good. But things quickly soured. It's fun to see each minigame the first time or two, but you'll be seeing them many times over. There aren't enough unique things to do to cover 30 turns of each game, and it becomes repetitive very quickly. Likewise, the entire soundtrack, which includes the tunes Pop Goes the Weasel and Three Blind Mice, is only about 5 minutes long, so you'll be hearing the same things over and over as well. The music is not great, and it also includes some truly ear-piercing sound effects. If you're a fan of, or even just familiar with the Three Stooges, then it's cool to see how this game brings them to life on the NES. However, this collection of minigames is too limited and too repetitive for me to seriously recommend to anyone. And if you're not a fan of the Three Stooges, then there's really nothing to see here.
Oh, boy's got a head clunker, eh? Get out of here. He didn't do it. And you did. Get out.
If you want to see more, I have a bunch more NES reviews. I also have a Patreon if you want to support these videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.